Well, today we're going to try to put the Marco Makes Spinosaurus replacement head on the Hammond collection Spinosaurus. You know what, let's get something out of the way first. This channel and all of the content therein is aimed at adult collectors and customizers, not children. If you have young kids, don't let them watch this. I use coarse language, make suggestive comments, and use crude humor. I mean, what the hell do you expect from a channel called Jurassole? The under 18 demographic makes up less than 10% of my viewership. If suggestive comments, crude humor, and the occasional F-bomb are not your cup of tea, then by all means, turn this video off. Watch Cocomelon instead. They don't have any of that stuff. And maybe don't let your kids watch this channel either. Now, let's fuck up a Spinosaurus. The first thing I'm going to do is paint the eyes that come with the replacement head. There are glass eyes available on Suratech's Etsy shop if you're into that kind of thing. Otherwise, all these really need is a quick coat of color shift green and a slit black pupil. And make sure to do that on both sides of the eyeball assembly. We don't want lopsided eyeballs on our dinosaur. If you want to go the extra mile, you can always paint blood veins on the eyeball as well. After all, maybe he's a tired Spinosaurus. Well, tired or wired, take your pick. Once you're done playing around with the eyeballs, it's time to actually get into the meat and potatoes of this head swap. The first thing we're going to do is heat the head up. Now, it is lovely that the Hammond Collection Spinosaurus is finally available on Target's website and Amazon again, but it is important to note that they are greedy bastards, and rather than the original MSRP of $60, they're charging $100. What I'm getting at here is that this is a risky operation, and if you decide to try it, be aware you've got $100 on the line. This operation is done at your own risk. No one is making you do this. Marco is not responsible if you mess it up because he designed the head, especially since that head wasn't even designed for this Spinosaurus. And I'm not responsible for showing you how to do it. Your dinosaur, your operation, your responsibility. If you're not confident you can pull it off, don't even try. Now that the Spinosaurus head is nice and warm, let's grab a flat-headed screwdriver and pry it off. This part right here, yeah, you're probably going to break something. If you're lucky, all we break is the pegs that hold the head on. That's fine. We might also break the outside part of the head. That's not optimal, but not the end of the world. What we absolutely do not want to break is the pink plastic that the head attaches to. Break that pink plastic and we are boned. Honestly, I'd probably recommend using the Dremel to get the head off just like I do with the T-Rexes. But since this is the first Spinosaurus head replacement I've done, I wanted to see if I could do it without damaging it. Alright, top part removed, now to work on that bottom jaw. I'm going to use a little bit more heat here. Once we're done with the heat, we'll use some elbow grease. Now, I don't want to break anything, but the pink plastic underneath the jaw is what needs to be preserved at all costs. After all, that is what the new jaw is going to attach to. Okay, bottom jaw removed. So this is what the Hammond Collection Spinosaurus looks like after you pull its head off. Very similar to the Tyrannosaurus. I'm gonna say it one more time for clarity. The Marco Makes Spinosaurus replacement head is not made for the Hammond Collection Spinosaurus. It's made for the Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus. You know, that extreme chomping sucker. We're going to have to cut and grind on this pink plastic under the Spinosaurus's head, and we're going to have to cut and grind on the replacement Spinosaurus head. First things first, I'm going to remove these pegs, because they will not line up with the peg holes on the Hammond Collection Spinosaurus head. With those pegs cut off, we can actually put it on the lower jaw and see where we need to grind away, whether it be on the pink plastic or on the replacement jaw itself. The goal is to make it fit. We just need to see what kind of work we have to do to make that happen. So right off the bat, the rear portion of the pink plastic on both the upper and lower jaws is too wide for the replacement head. So using a Sharpie, I'm going to make a couple of marks on where I need to grind away the most material. And we'll get those rubber buccal flaps out of the way while we're at it. Now we'll just summon the mosquitoes. Well, trimming those down with the Dremel left some rough patches on the edges. So I'll just grab an X-Acto knife and clean those up a little bit. Always make sure to cut away from yourself with sharp objects. The red stuff is supposed to stay inside your body. Now that that's trimmed, let's see how close it is to fitting. Still needs some work. It's a process. Well, back to the mosquitoes, I suppose. We'll use a grinding bit this time. While I'm playing with power tools, I'm going to go ahead and cut off that peg hole in the front of the bottom jaw. I don't think we'll need it. And then we'll try putting those Spinosaurus replacement parts back on it. Close, but no cigar. Time to bring back the mosquitoes. Alrighty, let's just clean up some of those ugly edges and try and fit those headpieces on again. Verily, my dear homies, we are getting closer, but we're not there yet. Mosquitoes. Are we there yet? Nope, not yet. But you know, you can always take off material. It's a hell of a lot harder to add it back on. Well, back to the grind. Okie dokie, let's see if it fits now. Alrighty, top of the head is not looking too shabby. But the rear part of the head and the rear part of the jaw do fit pretty tightly over that neck. We should probably loosen them up a little bit. And of course, the most expedient way to loosen them up is gonna be to use the Dremel. Alright, let's see how we're looking now. Well, closer and closer. But if we look at the original head, it's cut out a little bit more in the back to help it open up all the way. I guess we should do that to the replacement head too, and the replacement jaw. Alright, one more time. Summon the mosquitoes. Head's cut out, and now for the jaw. So yeah, there's a lot of fitting involved with this. Alright, let's try it now. We've got to be getting close, right? Okay, you know what? I think these are going to be a problem. The peg holes at the back of the head. Well, let's go ahead and cut them off and see where that takes us. Well, I don't want to jinx it, but I think that we've got that top part where we need it to be. But I think the peg holes on the lower jaw are getting in the way. Mosquitoes! Aw boy, here I go cutting stuff off again. It's fine, we don't need those. We'll just check our progress again and see how close we are. I think we might just be there. Maybe I'll shave a little bit off the back of the jaw with an X-Acto knife. Safety first, cut away from yourself. Once I've shaved that off, we'll go back to test fitting. Alright, I think we're pretty much where we need to be, but we need to put the eyes in the head before we put the head on the dinosaur. Well, at least before we glue it down. And here's a fun trick that I like to do to dinosaur eyes. Put a few layers of clear UV resin over them. It's going to serve a dual purpose of preserving the paint, as well as making the eyes look wet and juicy. Between layers of UV resin, we make sure we hit those eyeballs with a UV light to cure the UV resin, or help it with its tan, whatever. And we'll do this between layers so we can build up a nice protective shell on that eyeball, and make it look a little bit glass eye-y. Glass eye-esque? like a glass eye. It'll make it resemble a glass eye a little bit, but like one of the good ones, like from Suratech. With that said though, if you're a fan of glass eyes, just buy the glass eyes from Suratech. It's less work, less expensive, and they'll look a lot more glass eye-y than these eyes will when they're finished. In preparation for the installation of those eyes, I'm going to thoroughly paint the entire orbital area with midnight blue. That way I don't have to worry about splashing paint onto the eyeball when I'm painting the dinosaur. Midnight blue for the orbit. Is that accurate to the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus? No, it is not. But I never said I was painting a Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus. Once those orbits are all midnight bluey, we can go ahead and install the eyeballs. And kudos to Marco and Surat for designing these. They are super easy to install, and it gives you the ability to paint the orbit and the eyeball separately. That way you don't splash the wrong colored paint on either one of them. Now we'll just check to make sure that they're placed properly. Yup, that looks like a Spinosaurus eyeball. Better check the other side too. After all, we do not want a lopsided dinosaur. It looks good too. So, I guess we'll just glue this head on. I'm going to go ahead and start with the lower jaw. I'm going to put a little strip of a foam sheet on the bottom of that lower jaw. This will just give it more surface area that'll actually contact that pink plastic. Now I'll just apply a gratuitous amount of super glue around the edges of that pink plastic and slide it in place. Wearing gloves might have been a good idea. I didn't do that. So just try not to get super glue on your fingers. Once it's properly positioned, just hold it there for like 3.5 minutes, or however long it takes your super glue to cure. Once the bottom jaw is in place, we'll just do the same thing with the top part. Same deal here, just slather that sucker in super glue everywhere it's going to make contact with the pink plastic. Slide the replacement part over that pink plastic. Make sure everything's lined up how it should be and hold it in place for 3.5 minutes. Or let gravity hold it, whatever. Cool, well, looks like the Spinosaurus is looking more like a Spinosaurus again. Now, I'm sure I've already mentioned it, but the original Spinosaurus head really doesn't look bad. But for those discerning collectors and customizers, the Marco Makes replacement head will just take the Spinosaurus up to the next level. I'm going to take an extra step right here and patch up some of the seams between the replacement head and the pink plastic with some Milliput. You don't have to do this. Hell, you don't have to do any of this. But I've got the Milliput, and I've got a few minutes to kill, so may as well. Anytime you are working with Milliput, I recommend keeping a small cup of water on hand. It likes to stick to things, which is good if it's sticking to your project, but a little bit less good if it's sticking to your hands, fingers, or whatever tool you're using to try to sculpt it. But you can wet down the tips of your fingers or the tips of your sculpting tools to keep that from happening. You can also make a messy epoxy paste if you use too much water. So with everything, use a little bit of common sense. If someone says to use heat to remove a dinosaur's head or feet, don't blast it with a heat gun until the plastic starts to deform or melt. And similarly, when I say use water on the tips of your fingers in your sculpting tool so that they don't stick, that doesn't mean inundate your Milliput with water and make a damn swamp. Your Milliput should have a putty-like consistency, not be a viscous soup. I recommend squishing the Milliput into the seams between the replacement head and the pink plastic with the back end of a paintbrush that has been slightly wetted with water. You can then smooth it out with your fingertip or a paintbrush, also wetted with a little bit of water, a little bit, not a lot of it. And once you get all of those seams covered up, you can just use a toothpick to clean up any of the excess that might have squished between some of the teeth. Make sure you clean it while it's still soft. Once it cures, cleanup will get a lot trickier. Eventually, I'm going to paint this dinosaur. And since I don't want to redo the eyeballs, I'm going to cover them with a little bit of masking tape. As with most of my repaints, I'm going to start off with a base coat. I'm using a mixture of khaki and Iraqi sand for this, not warm buff. Weird. At any rate, by base coating it at the end of this video, it means that we don't have to base coat it at the beginning of the next video. Everything that you do now is one less thing that you have to worry about later. It's like proactively allowing yourself to procrastinate later. Normally, I'd say we can do some dinosaur glamour shots right now, but Spinosaurus isn't looking too glamorous yet. So I think we'll do those glamour shots next week, after we paint the Spinosaurus. Now, real quick before I go, could I have altered the Spinosaurus replacement head to make it work better on the Hammond collection Spinosaurus? Well, yes, But here's the thing. That means test prints and fitting. It means expending a lot of time and materials to make a risky and complicated operation just a little bit less complicated. And it would still carry the risk. And it's my opinion that if you can't do the fitting and grinding necessary to make the Camp Cretaceous replacement head fit on the Hammond Collection Spinosaurus, you should not be trying to replace the Spinosaurus's head at all. There's no removing the risk factor. And if I were to tell people that this Spinosaurus head is fitted to the Hammond Collection Spinosaurus, that unfortunately gives some people the idea that you can just safely and easily pop off the original head and pop the new head on. That's not the case. I want everyone who attempts this to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that it's not an easy, risk-free process. If you are an experienced customizer who has a lot of T-Rex head swaps under their belt, and isn't afraid to risk their figures or get their hands dirty, then by all means try this. If not, then just don't. Seriously, just don't. It's like back when Jackass came out and kids were trying to emulate the stunts that they did, and then parents started blaming Johnny Knoxville and Steve-O for their kids getting hurt. No, your kid was being a jackass. Don't try everything you see on TV. I think at this point this is a very thorough disclaimer. So be safe, and don't jump out of a hot air balloon because a professional stuntman made it look easy. I'll see you guys next week, and then we can do some painting. Dinosaur!